Hello, BookTube. I'm Peg, the book prize addict, and actually, I'm becoming a book list, best of the year book list addict too, which I've always been. I love the end of the year when people put out their newspapers and put out their best of the year, and I like to look through it and see how many I've read. Lately, there's been some talk and anticipation because our good buddy Steve Donahue puts out a wonderful, many faceted lists with S at the end of the year. Now, last year was the first year I've been watching BookTube, and it was amazing when it came out at the end of December. He has like 10 different categories at least. He has fiction, debut fiction, historical fiction, science fiction, and other nonfiction too, but of course the fiction is what I'm interested in. And let's start back. Many of you might have, who follow him, might have seen a few days ago he put out his thoughts on the newly released National Book Award fiction list, and he wasn't too pleased with it. But he did, I guess, in another one, he had said the one that he certainly hoped would be on it is The Overstory by Richard Powers, and it wasn't, sadly, though it is on the Booker long list, which tomorrow or Thursday, the 20th, we will find out if it and what else made the short list. So anyway, when Steve told his thoughts about the current National Book Award list, I noticed myself and quite a few other commenters ask him if he'd give us a list of what he wished were on that list, the National Book Award list. And I think we were all just waiting in anticipation to hear what he thought. Well, he actually he had the kindness to write me an email and say no, he wouldn't be putting out the list of his favorites until the end of the year. So we just have to wait and wonder what's going to be on his list. I bet this one will be. Anyway, so I got to thinking, once you start thinking about lists, I'm so anxious to know what will be on his list. I decided I'd look back and see if he had other lists from the past years, and supposedly he does do them every year. So I looked back, and yes, I did a search on his now extinct Open Letters Monthly, and on him. And guess what? There are lists of his best of the year back to the year 1990. And he even has what he calls the Donnoghue interregnum years. That's when he wasn't writing book reviews professionally. He must have been working at the bookstore then, but he has gone back and done another list for all those. So I'm giving you the link to a lot of them. You may want to put in different search terms, but I have just been having a blast looking at his year lists of the past. And this kind of maybe will give me some satisfaction while I'm waiting for this year's to come out. Okay, so I thought I'd take a look at just a few of them as I quickly look through them to see what I had. And I have had and have read many on the list, but I have the, bad or good habit, you might say, of getting rid of my books after I read them, because I get so many each year, I just wouldn't have room to live in my house if I kept them all. But I did pick up some in my library, which also I wish now was alphabetized because I had a hard time finding them, of some that he has had in his previous year's list, which I thought I'd just mention. In 1991, it was the first one actually I could find. Some of his older ones you can't link to, but maybe that could be fixed. I don't know. Anyway, no wonder he has the Richard Powers as his, I think will be one of his best for this year, because looking back, I see that Steve, as myself, was quite a Richard Powers fan, and I happen to have all Richard Powers novels, so I'll be able to show those that he talked about. In 1991, he called the Goldberg Variations not only the best novel of the year, but the best novel of the decade. He explains that it has two main plots dealing with a genius biologist who disappears and a young couple who actually, I guess, search for him. And he called it flat out amazing and says that on each rereading, it seems to get better. I haven't read this. I might just start it today. Okay, going on through the years, in 1995, he had another Richard Powers novel on his 10 best fiction list, and this was Galatia 2.2. This deals with a computer program that achieves sentience, and he said was strangely prescient. Now, this, of course, is in 95. Computers were a new thing, and we were kind of worried about would they maybe take over the world. Anyway, so let's see. Going on to year 2000, he actually has a science fiction book on his best of the year. I think he just had fiction then. He didn't actually have a science fiction category, which he does now. Anyway, Perdido Street Station, and he actually said on this that he does read a lot of genre and enjoys it, but it doesn't usually make the his best of the year list, and this one did. He says that it's a nefarious plot in an otherworldly city. It's inventive and full of dark humor. This is one I've been wanting to read. I think Mel and somebody did a buddy read of this earlier this year, and actually I think it's the first of a trilogy, so I need to get to that. Okay, well, jumping ahead to 2012, when he called At Last by Edward St. Aubin one of his best of the year. Now, this is a series about a man called Patrick Melrose, and he warns you right up front, I've read some of them, that this is not a feel-good or cozy English series. It actually deals with a diseased and dysfunctional family, but he does call it one of the great 21st century novel cycles in English. And I bought this book recently because it has the prior four, most of which I've read, but at different times, and I thought I'd read them together again before I read. It has here that he is author of At Last, which is the latest one and the last one to be put out. Okay, rushing ahead to 2017, just last year, one of his ones was A State of Freedom. And this, he kind of explains that he didn't know knew it was about an immigrant experience, and since there's so many written about that, he thought it might be just, not that interesting, but he was very impressed that it showed the immigrant experience in a new and fresh way. So if you take a look at all those lists, that might give you a little something to munch on until he gets around to making the lists for this year. Okay, Steve, we're waiting. Maybe we should have a guessing game to see what will be on his list. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.